1, 2, 3, 4.
And I
1,
don't
2,
say you need to talk to everyone, everywhere, all the time. That's not what this is about, right? It's just the idea that there are people around and there are opportunities to connect and have a laugh and learn something new. And just, it's just an element of novelty in your life to have a sort of, I think that's what partly what makes it scary is you don't know what's going to happen in these conversations. Probably nothing scary. I don't mean that, but like you don't know what to expect, and that's a bit scary, but also just really fun. Like it's such a source of novelty in our life.
It is funny because now, because and I don't even think about this very often, but I have never actually thought, or had a negative experience in talking to a stranger. And you told me once that the worst that you tend to get in your research is that somebody doesn't respond. Not that it's a negative response, but
Mm,
that they just have no response, and that maybe some people are interpreting that no response as a negative, when in actual
mm,
fact, we just need to understand that people have things going on in their life. Maybe they just had a scrap with their family, or maybe they've got a meeting that they're preparing to. And so I think it's even understanding how we should interpret what other people, how people respond to us, and what does it
mm.
really mean.
Doing some work on rejection and what it looks like and how we interpret it and how we feel about it. And I can't really share any results yet, but I will tell you that we're finding that people aren't always clear on whether they're being rejected. Like it's not always very obvious because my gut feeling is that what a rejection looks like in practice is just someone politely responding to you and then, maybe they're not comfortable, whatever, but plugging in their headphones or pulling out their phone or whatever. But people don't generally just completely ignore you and they don't say horrible things to you. Like that almost never happens.
You inspire me, Gillian Sandstrom. I couldn't agree with you more. When we think about this as maybe a purpose in somebody's life, to recognize that if you
Mm,
talk to 10 strangers today, if three of them are about what you're doing for somebody else versus what's happening for you, although you and I would know, I call this the dirty little secret, is that every time you talk to a stranger, you feel happier as well as them. So, yeah, I think it's a really great comment. The role of earbuds and headphones and all the other things. I can tell you that we went out on the streets of Toronto last year, and tried to do some talking to strangers. And I will tell you that it was probably 75% of the people had earbuds or headphones in.
mm,
How big of a barrier is that?
hmm. Well, I mean, I think you're right that a lot of people, I think people sometimes deliberately wear earbuds because they want to signal that they don't want anyone to talk to them. Um, and we need to respect people. I mean, that's something else. I mean, we're trying to encourage people to talk to strangers during this week and more generally, but don't be a nuisance. If people don't want to talk, don't push it. But acknowledge too that people are going to feel a bit uncomfortable and confused by it, and you might have to keep going long enough that they realize you're just being friendly. So you have to find that right balance between like
Okay.
persist for a little bit if it seems okay to do so, but then at some point you have to just let people be if they don't want to talk. Um,
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I've talked to people with earbuds in. Often it's because I haven't noticed that they had earbuds in, and people will stop whatever the thing and talk to you. And I mean, I'll admit when I go out for my daily walks, I have my earbuds in, but I'm constantly stopping my music so that I can go up to people and say hello. So I don't think it necessarily has to be a barrier, but you're
Yeah.
definitely sending a signal when you have them in that you're not as open to other people approaching you.
We all understood how valuable it was to our health, our happiness, longevity, society, the impact of purpose on what you could do for somebody else. I wonder if people might be a little more open to maybe not walking around with the earbuds and the headphones on all the time.
Maybe, but I think as an introvert, I get that you want to shut things out because it's a little too much sometimes. You
Yeah.
want to have the calming music or whatever it is to help you sort of just be able to tune into one thing rather than the whole chaos that's around you. I think we could all stand to just have less stimulation at times, you know. I think
Yeah.
we need to have those moments of quiet where we're just sort of looking at the world and noticing rather than being stuck in our heads and trying to achieve something.
Yeah. Hey, as a I shouldn't say devoted, as a, proclaimed introvert, I wanted to
Mm.
touch on that as well, which
Mm.
is we know from the research that introverts need human connection as much as extroverts do. They may not need it as often,
And enjoy
and
social interactions just as much.
totally.
Yeah.
So, how great of an opportunity is talking to strangers where there is no deep connection to the individual? How great of an opportunity is talking to strangers for introverts?
I actually think for myself that I sometimes use it as a coping mechanism. So if I'm
Mm.
on the tube in London and, you know, it's like any mass transportation system, it's loud, it's hot. It doesn't matter if it's summer or winter, it's overheated in there. There's a lot of people, a lot of noise, a lot of smells, like all the things, right? Um, I actually find it helps me so much if I just turn to the person sitting next to me and have a little chat because it means that I can tune out everything else. Like I can just get absorbed in that conversation. And I find it, for me, it helps me a lot to just cope with all the things. And yeah, like you said, there's an element of you get to take charge. You get to choose who you're talking to. Usually, you do it in a situation where you can just walk away, or there's like a limited time, right? And so and then you know you're never going to see them again. So like that element of judgment and stuff is just not there. I mean, some of us will still play it over and over again in our heads. Um, but you know, yeah, you're never going to see them again. So you can let it go. You can just, you know, learn from it. Um, and let it help you kind of develop your social skills. But I think that's another benefit actually that we haven't documented yet. But I think
Yeah.
if you practice talking to strangers and you get more comfortable, it translates to you feeling like you can speak up in a meeting at work and ask a question or ask someone for help or, you know, do something kind, like give someone a compliment or, you know, all these other things. Just feeling a bit more confident in your social skills, I think really kind of ripples out.
It was your research, Gillian, that inspired me to go, geez, maybe we're missing something here. Maybe we're missing maybe the big, and I do believe now it may be the biggest opportunity that we have in society to not only heal ourselves, but maybe to heal the society in which we live.
Mm,
Because if we all saw each other more as human beings that have far more in common than what differentiates us, I think we would actually build more bridges with people that look like us and don't look like us, think like us and don't think like us, act like us and don't, because it's not about, because you don't think or act like me that you're the enemy. You have to, we have to be open to the fact that, hey, there's a lot of people in this world and we all are going to be far better off if we can, build these little connections and these little interactions that make us all feel like we're part of something bigger than ourselves.
I think like this goes back to you asking me about sort of what's the big finding, big takeaway for me.
Yeah.
I think the common denominator is fear, and I think you know we for some reason that maybe doesn't even make a lot of sense. I think a lot of us walk around a little bit scared of other people and suspicious and there's some reason like there's some reason that that makes sense, but like we're really way too fearful. And I think if you know, for myself anyway, I walked around exactly like that. I would look people in the eye and then I would drop my eyes to the ground because I was too scared to even just maintain eye contact with people. But having talked to hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of strangers now, I'm just not scared of people anymore. And I mean, there are some horrible people in the world, but they are the minority. Like most people are just everyday people like you and me trying to make their way through the world, deal with whatever life throws them, you know. We're all dealing with stuff. And I'm just not scared of people anymore. And that is, like you said, that feels like the bottom, like the bottom, the foundation. You know, if we can get that, then everything else can build on that. But if you
Yeah.
can't get rid of that piece, then everything else falls apart.
When we think of who really are the people that we should use the word even fear, they probably aren't among us most times.
Yeah, and I mean, I know you've been, and that's a very reasonable concern that I know a lot of people will have. And I know you've been really clear in all your materials. You know, we're not saying to go walk down a dark alley and chat up the person hiding in the shadows. You know, do it in there, but there's plenty of opportunities to do it in public spaces with lots of other people around, daylight. You know, do it somewhere where you feel safe. And there's plenty of opportunities to do that, whether it's when you're buying your coffee or walking your dog or going to the gym or whatever. There's lots of opportunities where it can feel completely safe.
Couldn't agree more. Well, Julian, I think we're near the end of our chat today. I just want to say a huge thank you to you. You've inspired me since we first met a few years ago. This movement is, it's a tribute really to the work that you've been doing, the work that Nick Epley has been doing in the U.S. The two of you have both inspired me to keep pushing forward with this. You know, we have the CDC, we've got support of government. We have over 20 cities that have proclaimed Talk to a Stranger Week in Canada. The Ontario legislature is going to proclaim that Talk to a Stranger Week in Ontario. We will be read out in
Amazing.
Parliament this year. So many amazing things are happening, but it wouldn't have happened without some early conversations about the research that you've been doing. So, Gillian, I want to say thank you to you. I also want everybody to recognize that when we met in the UK, that it was a very funny thing to watch you walk through a park. And there wasn't a person that you didn't connect with as we walked through that park that day, which I think was St. James Park. Am I right that it was St.
That's
James
right.
Park?
Yeah.
And I can still remember, I went to the washroom and I came out and you were in a full out deep conversation with an older lady. And it was like, oh my God, you are as crazy as I am. You are living your research. You are living what you do. And I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful for all the support of GenWell and Talk to a Stranger Week. And thank you again for making the time to have this conversation today.
Thank you so much for making use of this research and believing in the potential of it. And I hope that people give it a try and find it to be just as fun and rewarding and meaningful as I do.
1, 2.